Hello, we are live. Hi, I'm Diana, and today I'm talking with James. We're going to have a conversation. We haven't fully figured out about what yet, so this is going to be good because I really like having talks like this. So, I'm a coach, so is James. Tell us a little bit about yourself, James.
Well, my name's James Kelly. I live in Ireland. I started coaching not so long ago, but I feel like I've been preparing to coach quite a long time ago,
About a lifetime, usually.
or more.
Yeah. So, what are we going to talk about today, do you think?
Okay, well, yeah, I'm just going to talk about where I'm at, which is
Cool.
like the whole idea of having taken coaching and the process of coaching really, really serious these
Mm-hmm.
last 3 months, and having done so, let a lot of my personality outside the door.
That's never good.
Well,
I think it's good to be yourself.
yeah. Well, maybe I have been myself to a degree, but
Mm-hmm.
a little bit restrained,
Okay.
and so yeah, it's just this whole idea. Like, I suppose I've just had quite a few insights this week
Mm-hmm.
around the whole idea of being comfortable in my coaching, but not very
Yeah.
comfortable around everything that's outside that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I'm just working on enjoying it that little bit more and
Yeah,
relaxing and relaxing with it.
that's important. It's important to enjoy what you do. I've learned over the time that I've been coaching that one of the main things is that when I enjoy what I do, I can serve my clients best because then I'm more comfortable. When it starts to feel difficult, I'm not serving them well because then I'm trying to artificially look for all sorts of solutions for them. But that's not what I'm supposed to do because they find their solutions as long as I guide the conversation. And that's one of these things that I find really important, that I, kind of hold their hand to get to the point where they want to go so that they feel the support, that kind of way. How do you see that?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I feel quite comfortable inside that process,
That's good.
um, and therefore my insights were around the whole idea that because I find that part of the process so
Mm-hmm.
comfortable and so easy. Well,
Yeah.
not totally easy actually, because you have to work at it. Like, you have to work at you have to work at not doing anything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the proposal, well, I'm not even going to talk about that, but just like the other areas of
Yeah.
of creating a coaching business
Mm-hmm.
imply that you have to be a serious person for me. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to get around that. And like, for example, I'll give you a silly example today. Like, for example, I was sending an email to someone I've coached, and before, my fonts were small and black, and
Mm-hmm.
today I just changed them to large and blue. And so it's just as much for me as it is for him, and it's
Yeah.
letting me know that I can do anything I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As long as you serve your clients well.
Yeah, but even that blue just allowed me feel like, yeah, I can bring some color to this, you know.
Oh yeah. I think it's important to bring color to coaching.
Mm, mm.
It's somehow I always have this thing of the rainbow has to be with me, whatever I do. That doesn't mean I have to have rainbow makeup, but I have to see the varieties in things because the rainbow is that all these colors are so different in shades and stuff like that because they really flow over in each other in a nice way. So the moment I can hold on to that rainbow image, I can see how coaching has that flow as well, that it goes from one shade to another in the conversation. I had a really good conversation this morning with a client where the flow was really going. We were talking over an hour. It was one of those conversations where it just feels so good you keep going. And she had some really good insights and some really good ideas about what she was going to do. And I thought this was so cool. It was just so nice. And you know, I didn't tell her what to do or anything because I never do. It was more about holding that space for her to think and come up with her ideas. So reflecting back is one of those things that I find so cool to do. When you tell someone what you've heard of what they've said, it's just, yeah, I like those things. Seeing you do that a couple of times, that was amazing. Don't know whether John told you that he was using you as an example of reflecting back.
I was told.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. But
I checked out the footage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice thing for him to do, and to be honest about that situation, just to bring some humility into it too. I really couldn't find questions.
Maybe you don't have to.
I couldn't find them, but I knew I was being 100% present.
That's the important part.
So I was with her.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge is the biggest challenge within that situation was just to trust.
Yeah.
Because like my heart was pumping, there was adrenaline, you know, because there's a part of you, like the social part of you is telling you, say something, say something, say something. But actually, there was, well, at least one time where I was about to say something and she had an insight.
Yeah.
So that was such a great feeling that some part of me was able to stop and not say something, and something happened as a result of that. That's amazing when you don't do something and something happens.
Yes, I think that's a big difference between being in your social headspace or being in your professional, because a coaching conversation is certainly not really a social conversation. It's a different type of conversation. And that doesn't mean your social self is completely gone, because you're still the friendly, nice person. But I do realize that as a coach, I take it slower in a conversation and I focus on the client instead of, just having a nice chat about whatever, So it's a very, for me, it's a different conversation, but it doesn't make it less fun, because it actually makes it at times even more fun than just having a talk with friends. Because with friends, you don't go as deep, and I love deep conversations. So for me, this is just fabulous, this job. Best thing in the world.
Yeah, and when I'm doing it, like it is, you've entered a process. You know it's a process. Like it's not free for all.
No, not at all.
So that is there. So there is, I suppose it's coming back to also what I was talking about earlier on with the fun and the serious. So like it's just knowing when that's there. You know when, or even another friend was saying to me about sincerity and seriousness as well. Like the difference between those two. So it's a funny one. But I suppose if I was to come into this week, my philosophy is just a little bit more fun. Yeah, just a little bit more, just a little bit more crack, and a little bit more off the cuff, a little bit more spontaneity. That it's not all about. You can yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's really important. The people that have coached me, we always had a good laugh, despite the fact that I've also let quite some tears flow during certain talks, because certain talks have been really hard, but there was always laughter with it as well. So I think you need both in these conversations, and well, not necessarily the tears, but the seriousness. I mean, because you don't necessarily need tears. That's something that easily happens to me, and I'm not ashamed of it at all. when things get difficult, I have tears, and it means that it goes deep for me and it touches me and that changes me. So it's for me good. For me, it's good to have tears, but not for everyone.
Do you know what's really interesting for me as well is, like, I've had quite a few coaching sessions this week on me where I was the coachee. And it's just so interesting how before I could have just done one session over a week and that probably would have been enough. Whereas now, because you kind of know the process, you can kind of direct it and go, well, no, I kind of want to go there with it. And and then you go to another coaching session, you know exactly where you want to go, and you go there. And it's just like constantly getting this spotlight and just shining on a very specific thing. And it's no longer therapy. It's like the Chandler thing. You're turning problems into projects.
Yes. And that makes it really cool. The moment you can see that problems don't really exist, it's just a project to get through, it takes the sting completely out of it, and it makes it so much easier to get through. I find that really cool. What I've also noticed is when in the beginning, when I got coached, it would take, a whole session, as in nearly an hour. But at some point, you're so used to the process that with some of the people that I was tuned into quite well, it's done in 15 minutes, half an hour. We just got to the point. And then the insight was there, done. It was really cool how that just was a matter of weeks before I felt how that process went so much quicker. And then initially, and that's thankfully a couple of months ago, I got a bit frustrated with some clients where it took longer because they were not really used to that process. But I was with the classmates. I was so used to that process, and I was talking more with classmates than with clients at the time because it was in the early days. And then a couple of times it really frustrated me how slow the process was with a client. And now I totally enjoy it again because it's a beautiful process, I found. But yeah, that was in the early days a couple of times that it was a bit difficult because I didn't know how to fully do it. And now that I'm more comfortable in it, it makes it much more fun. It really is fun. Yeah. I love the conversations. And I also like calling them conversations instead of sessions somehow, that because it is a conversation. It really is that.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm still calling them sessions, so that's a nice way of putting it, because sessions, once again, it brings it back to therapy, doesn't it? And I don't think it's not a therapy thing. And
nope.
And you know what, as well, like I heard someone say the other day as well that or maybe I was involved in the conversation too. Maybe we created it together, but I didn't. I think it's been out there years. But it's the whole idea of that this package is a journey. It's not, once again, package is based around product, manufacturing, etc., serious language. But if you call it a journey, well, and that's a true definition of what it is.
Yes, it's a much better word than package, I realize. I hadn't thought about that so much. It's actually cool that you bring that up. Because coaching is a journey. And frequently, what I've found is that it's a fairly open-ended journey. People know where they start, but often don't know where they want to finish. I certainly didn't when I was talking with my first coach. I had a plan of what I wanted to create in my life, but I didn't really know how that journey was going to go. And it was a very different journey than I'd hoped for, but it was a much better journey. And that was really cool as well, that the journey, it hadn't given me, I was really focused on goals and building a business at the time. And that was not really what was all created, but a much better headspace. And I ended up having. So what was created was actually more important than having the business and the money, which was really cool. So yeah, that was amazing.
I got that, and that's interesting because it triggered a little idea that I have around that sort of thing. Is like, I understand visualization and I understand why people use it, but I'm a big fan of trying to be as present as I possibly can, because I think the more you're in the present,
Yeah.
the greater the reality you're going to create for yourself. So like, it doesn't matter what you visualize, because the more present you are, the more powerful your reality will
Yes.
be. So visualization is almost limiting yourself.
You can only do something in the present. You cannot do something in the future because you're not there yet.
So that's how I go, because people say, oh, can you try and visualize that for me? And I go, I'd rather not. I prefer, I just prefer to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, I do see some use in visualizing where you want to go. But just visualizing where you want to go is not going to get you there, because you still have to do something right now about it. Because right now is the only moment you can do something to change that future. So when you're thinking about that one car that you want, that's all nice and wonderful, but you're not going to get that car when you don't do the work to actually be able to afford the car. So you're going to have to do some, you have to take some action. And depending on how pricey the car is, it may have to be massive action.
Yeah, maybe you got a point on the visualization thing there. I mean, maybe like there's just like that balance that has to be struck. But my probably to state it a bit clearer is that, yeah, it's like there's a certain amount of projecting yourself into the future, but I feel like it's minimal. Like that a lot of what you've got to do is now.
Yeah.
I'm not I haven't got it fully. I'm not able to fully describe the feeling that I have around that, but it's something I'm really interested in.
Yeah, it's one of these things that Steve Chandler talks about in several books and talks, that wanting something is one thing, as in one of the comments that I think he made, I'm not 100% sure, some sort of paraphrasing, was that the secret exists, but you're going to have to take action to get there. So it's not just about thinking about it. It really is about moving towards that goal. And I do see that being really true, because you can think about stuff all you want, but you're going to have to move, because when you just keep sitting on that chair, or on your sofa, well, sitting on your sofa is not going to make you a happy person as such. You need to do something.
One of the nice things that I think you figure as you go along the way is that it's not about big things. It's just about small things all the time. And I think that's what people get caught on. Like a friend of mine sent me an email there today to say that he had made no progress, but I think that's because he'd seen his aim as like we had created 4 actions. Yeah. And I think he just tripped over all the actions. He didn't choose one and choose something small about it. He just saw all the 4 actions and got completely overwhelmed.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just so important. Like, and coming back on myself then as well, like I have this routine, or this morning routine that I have, and I was doing it religiously coming up to Christmas, and then I took Lions coming on in December, and then my routine's all over the place in January. Yeah. And I'm kind of beating myself up over it, but then there's another part of myself going, no, that's just the way it is, and let's just build it back up again, and let's not waste time. Let's just build this back up slowly but surely,
Yeah, when you beat yourself up over it, you can keep telling yourself that for days in a row, but in these days, nothing's changing. So the only thing you can do is start over and create it again. You can have a moment of, what did I do? But that's about it. You should just kind of get over it then and keep moving. Yeah, I like realizing that, because it's actually nice to stop constantly judging myself, I've realized. Because years ago, I was very good at judging myself.
Yeah. Diana, I have one thing to share about the whole idea of just letting go as well. Yeah. One of my insights over the week was that I was taking things too seriously. So I made a promise to myself not to open my Excel sheets this week. Cool. So none of them are being open, and it's a nice feeling, So that's like, tracking and keeping on top of stuff and numbers and all that, and you just let it go for a week, and it just feels like you've taken a holiday.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't really look at most of them most of the week. What I do is at the end of the week, I just count it all and then put it in my Excel sheet. That's it.
Okay, so you don't really do a lot of, you don't tot it per day. You just like, I got you.
Well, I sort of do. So I have a notebook here where I do, these Roman numerals type of stuff to count it all up because that's easier. And then through my calendar, I take my coaching calls and put that in the list, how many I've had. I just do that once a week. I just look at it once a week and that's it. I don't have to do that all the time.
I'm probably being a far too scientific about it.
Maybe. The thing is, when you get too serious about these things, you start to look only at the numbers, and I don't want to do that. I want to look at the people. Because initially I did, initially I was really I need to track everything really well. And yes, you do need to track things well to know whether you're making progress or not.
Yeah.
But I can do that. Well, if I want to once a day, but most of the time I just do it on the weekend.
I agree.
What have I done? Tuck, 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 tuck. Fill out my stuff, done.
That's a nice idea. I think taking it into the day, taking it into the everyday, it takes the emphasis off action, like outward action, because it becomes kind of like an internal thing for yourself. Whereas, let the outward action happen throughout the week, and then when you want to reflect on it, do that in your own time. I like that. That's a good philosophy.
You can just have a notepad next to you where you just write, for which parts you've done, tuck, 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 tuck per day. Other than that, don't worry about it and fill your spreadsheets out later.
Yeah.
I like doing it that way because it's less stressful. I don't need stressful.
No.
None of us. And I want to be with my clients when I'm with them and not worry about figures. Yeah. It's just nicer that way. It works better with the clients as well when you just am with them. You know how that is, that when you're really with your client and you're really there, that they get much more out of the conversation. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add to this?
It's nice to go live, and it's nice to I started the call and I was nervous, and I'm not nervous now. This is you and me on a Zoom call.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not very different, although we have a couple of likes I've just seen, but no comments yet, so we're good. I haven't asked anyone to tell me where they live and all these things either. That's just not me. I like doing it this way. I don't need people to. I'm not waiting for people to join and watch and all that type of stuff. I just do it, and people watch afterwards. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all good. And the other thing is like that's bringing up fear as well. Like what are you afraid of? Like the thing is, like, I think a lot of the time for me it's privacy. But there's so much happening in the world right now that, like, I don't think that's an option anymore. I think if you've got any sort of conscience at the moment, you need to be putting yourself out there, and it's little things like this that like add to the connection that's needed in the world, but that's I normally don't make statements like that because most of what I talk about is just like working on myself, but like working on yourself helps the world too. But like I try not to speak about the whole world too much because it's just such a complicated thing. I can't even get my head around that. Like it's but I just know that when you're being who you are, you're helping. Yes.
I think that's really important because I can only help one person at a time. I can't do more than that.
Yeah.
Because I can only have one conversation at a time. I can do a bit of group coaching, but in general, you only help one person. Actually, even in group coaching, you're only talking with one person at a time, So,
but I find I get as much healing, if not more, out of a coaching call than like when I'm coaching. I get so much healing out of it because
Yes.
I've put myself aside, and it's about this other person. But actually, it's always about you too, though. You're never removed from it, because whatever they talk about, you can relate to that. You can feel it.
Yep.
You know if you overcome it, or you know if you haven't even overcome it yet. All that sort of stuff. So it constantly provides some form of self-reflection as well. You know?
Yes. What has been for you the biggest insight you got through a coaching call where you were the coach? Do you have one?
Where I was the coach.
Where you were the coach and you had this thing, oh wow, yes. That you kind of had almost the same insight as your client did. Or, you know, an experience like that. It doesn't have to be a proper insight, but
I can't think of. I'll tell you one thing as well about my coaching is I'm like an amnesiac with it. So like I actually do them and completely forget about them. The only time I don't remember, or the only time I remember them, is when they haven't gone right.
Okay.
Like if I rush a coaching session. So if like there was one coaching session, at the end of it, I knew there was more to come, and we needed to arrange another session. And I rushed it and suggested actions. And I knew I was breaking the rule, or not I knew I was breaking the process, but my penance was having to reflect over that for a full weekend. I just knew it. I knew I hadn't made so I had to go and clean it up, say, let's arrange another session, etc., 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 etc. And that was a humbling experience for me. But in regards to like insights,
well, it was a good learning experience.
Yeah, that was an amazing learning experience, because I realized like, you know, it's the whole thing is just bigger than me, you know.
Yes. Yeah, that's with all of this. It's definitely bigger than either one of us. Yeah. Cool. I like that. It may not have been the easiest experience for me, but I like it.
Yeah. So that probably was an insight. There you go. It was an insight that I got outside of a session. Yeah. It was the whole idea that if you don't go with the process, you have to do twice as much work.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. And it's about the client. You have to follow their lead in it, because you can't force a process that they're going through. You can't make them think. They have to do the thinking for themselves. Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful process. Really beautiful. Right. Do we have anything more to talk about, or are we good for today, you think? Because we've had about 25 minutes now, sort of, ish.
Yeah, 25
which
minutes.
is a nice amount for a Facebook Live. It doesn't have to be much longer. So we can always do it again.
That's all good. Let's leave it at that then, yeah. Because
Okay, cool.
as ever, I have nothing going on.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining me today. And let's do it some other time again.
Let's do it again. Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, cool. Bye.
Bye.